Welcome to the Here's My Story channel. I'm Penelope. My grandmother was really angry. What do you mean you sold Penelope? What do you think this kid is, some kind of second-hand furniture? My aunt said dismissively, how many times have I told you I can't take care of her on a maid's salary? This is a wonderful opportunity for Penelope. She's going to live with a millionaire family. Meanwhile, I was packing my suitcase in tears. Grandma said, please don't cry, honey. I'm going to find a job and an apartment to take you in with me in hopes of making me feel better. Who will hire you at your age? Don't get her hopes up for no reason, my aunt replied. Then she turned to me. Will you stop crying? Your life is going to be better than anything you've ever dreamed of, and you'll thank me for it. A few hours later, I was in front of the mansion I was going to live in from then on. With hesitant steps, I stepped through the massive gate. My aunt worked as a kitchen maid here. Mr. Miller, the owner of the house, had been looking for a playmate for his son. My aunt suggested they take me in. He was looking for a girl my age, so he gladly accepted it. My aunt handed me over to the housekeeper, and I followed her through the house. Finally, we arrived in a large hall. There was a man, a woman, and a little boy who was a few years younger than me. The kid was staring at the floor in a funny way. The man said to me with a smile, "Come here, Penelope. I'll introduce you to my son, Lucas. He's a little shy. You need to give him some time to get used to you." The woman, who was sitting in the other chair, mockingly said, "But don't get your hopes up too high. That might never happen. Like he never got used to me." Mr. Miller frowned. "If you'd spent enough time with him, I'm sure he would have gotten closer to you. But since you go shopping every day of the week, you don't have time for Lucas." In the next few days, I'd come to find out that she was Lucas's stepmom. Like me, Lucas lost his mom when he was very young. Unfortunately, 2 years ago, I lost my dad as well and became an orphan at a young age. I was surprised to see Lucas staring at the floor all the time, but when Mr. Miller told me his son was on the autism spectrum, I understood why he was behaving this way. Autism is a brain-related condition that is congenital. Autism affects a person's thinking, emotions, and their relationship to their environment. That's one of the reasons why Lucas did not communicate with us. I went to his room the next morning. When he saw me, his eyes turned towards the floor again. I began to stare at the floor just like him. We stared at the floor together for an hour. Finally, I said, "If you're bored of this, we can also stare at the ceiling for an hour," and looked up. Despite his silence, he couldn't help but smile. I was happy to have gotten through to him. After a while, he looked up and started staring at the ceiling. By then, we were smiling together. As we were looking at the ceiling, Lucas's stepmom walked into the room. She was annoyed. "I told your dad this playmate idea was useless. I can now see that I wasn't wrong." I was spending most of my day with Lucas. He was still silent, so I was the one doing all the talking. I told him about my parents, my grandma, and my old school. After talking to him for weeks, I found it hard to come up with new topics to talk about. I decided to read to Lucas, but there were no books around. When I told the housekeeper that I wanted to see Lucas's dad, I found out he was on a business trip. She took me to Lucas's stepmom instead. "Could you get us a copy of the first book in the Harry Potter series? I want to read to Lucas," I asked her. She laughed out loud. "You're going to read to Lucas? He doesn't know anything about books. I'll kick you out of this house if I hear one more absurd suggestion from you," she hissed. I was so annoyed. As soon as I stepped foot back in Lucas's room, tears started pouring out of my eyes. I saw him look up at me, and I wiped them off. "I wanted to read you my favorite book, but your stepmom refused to get it for us," I said. "Which one?" Lucas asked. I can't tell you how happy I was at that moment. Lucas talked to me for the first time. "The Philosopher's Stone, the first book in the Harry Potter series. Have you heard of Harry Potter before?" Lucas nodded. Then he said, "Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive were proud to say that they were perfectly normal. Thank you very much." This was the first sentence of The Philosopher's Stone. Lucas smiled when he saw my surprise and began to recite the book. He had memorized the entire book and was reciting it as if it were open in front of him. When he said Chapter 2, The Vanishing Glass, I realized that he had gotten to the second chapter, so I asked him to stop. "Lucas, how did you memorize the whole book word for word?" I asked. "Once I read a book, I never forget it," he replied. "You mean every book you read?" I said in amazement, and he nodded. "That's the most extraordinary thing I've heard in my life." Lucas sheepishly looked at the floor. "What other books have you read?" I asked. He took out an e-reader from his pocket. He had gotten himself a Kindle Online so that he could buy and read any book that he liked. I browsed his ebook library. He had hundreds of books in there. He didn't only read novels either. He was interested in many different things like science, history, and biography. It was incredible to know that these books lived in Lucas's brain. Lucas, this is incredibly cool. You're the most knowledgeable person I've ever known, I said. That night, I went online and did hours of research on how autism presents itself in different people. That's how I found out that this kind of extraordinary talent could be observed in people like Lucas. Having an exceptional memory was only one special gift. They could also be math geniuses. I wondered if Lucas was talented in math as well. The only way to find out was to run a little test on him. The next morning, I walked into his room. Without even saying hello, I asked him, 35 times 44. Lucas smiled. He figured out what I was doing. 1,540, he replied. I was excited to see he got it right. 291 times 358, I asked. 104,178, he said with a grin. Apparently, he liked this test. You're the most extraordinary person I've ever met, I screamed. Lucas dropped his eyes to the floor again, embarrassed. I started singing and danced around him. Don't be shy, you're a genius, don't be shy. Suddenly, the housekeeper barged in. Mr. Miller is back from his trip. He wants to see you and Lucas, she said. I took Lucas by the hand. We ran to the big hall. Lucas and I were laughing. Mr. Miller smiled. Lucas's stepmom looked at us with disdain. Lucas, this is the first time I'm seeing you laugh in a long time. It seems that you are getting along quite well with your playmate, he said. Lucas's stepmom said, Of course they get along. You found him a playmate who's at the same level as him. What do you mean by that? He roared at her. Lucas and I were smiling. In my calmest voice, I said to Mr. Miller, You don't need to get angry with her, because in a minute, she will figure out she couldn't be more wrong about Lucas. I asked Lucas, Will you give me your e-reader? And he handed it over to me. His dad was surprised. Son, do you read books? Yes, he has hundreds of books, I said, opening a random page in a random book from his library. The Catcher in the Rye, page 49, I suggested to Lucas. He smiled. He began with the first sentence on that page. How old are you? I asked her. Old enough to know better, she said, and continued to recite the rest of the text until the next page. When the page was over, I turned to Lucas's stepmom. Did you know Lucas never forgets anything he has ever read? He has hundreds of books memorized. Do you know what this means? I asked. Surprised, she replied, What does this mean? This means that once Lucas learns something, he never forgets it. He is way, way more knowledgeable than you and me. Lucas's dad was tearing up. That is extraordinary. Lucas, son, why did you never tell us? He asked. Lucas looked at the floor again, embarrassed. I turned back to Lucas's stepmom. Did you also know that Lucas is a math genius? Give Lucas 2 numbers and he'll multiply them in his head. A math genius. Let's see if he can multiply 109,987 with 564,932, she said with a smirk on her face. Apparently, she thought she was giving him a very difficult multiplication problem and there was no way Lucas could get it right. Lucas answered, looking straight into her eyes, 62,135,175,884. No way! There's no way you can be this smart! She screamed. Then she turned to her husband. Is this a game that you're dragging me into? Are you a part of this? I hate you and I hate your son too, she said. I am just finding out that my son is a genius and you're doing your best to ruin this moment. I've seen you treat Lucas badly for a long time. Enough is enough. I'm divorcing you tomorrow. This marriage is over, Mr. Miller said. She panicked when she saw how serious he was. I was just kidding. Of course I love Lucas. I'm so happy to learn he's a genius. He makes me so proud, she said. But no one believed in her. She had no choice but to leave the house now. The next day, I told Mr. Miller all about my life story. He quickly called the housekeeper. Go to Penelope's grandmother and bring her here at once. She will live with us from now on, he said. My grandma and I stay in the same room now. I'm so happy to be reunited with her. Mr. Miller announced Lucas's talents with a press conference. Everyone was amazed. All this time, I couldn't see your genius even though you were right in front of my eyes. Please forgive me, my dear son, Mr. Miller apologized as he hugged Lucas. This time, Lucas didn't look at the floor as people were clapping for him. He finally understood that he was special and could be proud of himself.